Bantu bami uyakhuluma umuntu omdala. Uthi zonke izinkinga ebomini bakho mazihlaliswe phansi manje mfoka Mhlungu. Uthi uvuke nesibonakaliso sithi seziyasulwa manje izinyembezi imibhalo yami. Uthi makwenzeka mfoka Mhlungu ufika kwaMpumelelo. Ufika ubatshela ukuthi ayakhala amajazi ezifundiso washiya emakhaya. Okwabani ukufundela ukuhlala nabangafundile ngaphansi komthunzi wesihlahla. Kufakaza ilanga lithi ngiyabazi labantwana unyaka wesine bejika nami. Ihleke kancane inhlupheko ithi ngamthola ufakazi omkhulu ngaphezulu komhlaba. Zathinteka izimbongi zavuka umuzwa zashona ephepheni. Ikhuza ibhadi inkondlo. Ithi nina zibongiseni nawo lo mkhuba wenu wokungiloba ningadlile. Bamemeza abafundi basemkhathini. Bathi kusamele ngiduwa amanye amathuna la sithi isibalo ziyashoda izidumo zothanda emhlabathini. Uyakhuluma umuntu omdala. Wafesa wangaqasha omunye labaleka ithemba kubo. Wabhekisa amehlo ecaleni walibona lifanele yena lela findo lentambo emqaleni. Wayibophele egatsheni onkosami savuma nalesa sihlahla. Bantu bami uyakhuluma umuntu omdala. Uthi kusukela nini ukubona uzulu ehlulwa impilo. Uthi kulolu hambo lempilo labafokazane basithela ngechibi. Wathi ningiqolele bantu bami ngokunisela ngezinyembezi. Ukuthi ngimphuphe kabi uzulu leli inkululeko kabusha. Zulu ngiphuphe ngathi sinesandla nesiqalekiso selembe kuphathisena amangisi umnotho wethu. Labuza ijele. Lathi kodwa umSamariya ubekwa yini ngaphakathi kimi? Wathi la idanyane ngibekwe impilo ngisangaphandle izangi lenza iqiniso kimi. Ekhuluma efuku. Ethi kube washeshe wakhanyiselwa ngezindlela zobumnyama ngabe kudala wawuphumula umNazaretha wokulunga. Wathi Zulu bukani izolo ngizamile kwenzakalani. Bafethu kungihlulile ukubekezelela impumelelo engishaya indiva. Kuthiwe ezimayini kutholakala isidumo somuntu omnyama igazi ligcwele izinkophe safa simbi igolide lahluzwa abamhlophe. Indaba yami uyakhuluma umuntu omdala. Wathi umakhelwane esihlobo uyazi ngiyazithandela ubuthongo. Kodwa ngithuke sengiphaphanyiswa inkondlo kaNhlanhla Mhlonge bengivakashela kwaSaphuma. Ithi inkondlo kaNhlanhla ngibone kabi ngiqoqa amasento okuthenga ibhokisi lesimilo somntanami ithi mbonelele esifubeni sendoda engahlukana nayo. Bathi inkondlo uthini ngimina kanjani ngoba bengithi ukhamba lifuza imbiza. Bathi inkondlo naye ayazi kodwa isazongibuzela esikhunini ukuthi sona siwuzala kanjani umlotha. Ngathi make inkondlo kaNhlanhla ungaqala uhambe ehlala phansi isikhuluma. Ngiyakubona uthake kakhulu ngezakhe ezifihla umyalezo uyaphuza ukufinyelela konembeza bethu. Tshela mina inkondlo kaNhlanhla ziphupheka kanjani izimbongi nekhonela isimangaliso kangaka. Kanti wena inkondlo ufika uthini ebantwini abaphethe imali mazikuthumile izimbongi. Kathi inkondlo makhelwane iningi lezimbongi mina zingibhala zingakhulekanga. Manje bangithuma kabe empumelelweni amandla omkhuleko bengangiphathisanga. Makhelwane ngiyakhathala endleleni ngiphelelwa amandla nami ngiyadinga ukondliwa ukuze ngikwazi ukubonda kusasa. Asiyathula inkondlo.
Sanibonani Mzansi, siyajabula ukuphinde sihlangane nani khona la ku-One Day Leader igama nginguPearl wakwaShongwe. Thank you once again to Nhlanhla Mhlongo imbongi yethu esinikele yankondlo emnandi futhi ebuhlungu kangaka ekhuluma ngesimo esisikona khona la eMzansi. All right, this is a show where we showcase South Africa's leadership talent. Mzansi, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Now, it is not a secret that South Africa has a very high unemployment rate. The consequences of widespread unemployment are dire to our overall economy, which loses a significant portion of consumer spending, but also impacts the unemployed individuals. Long-term unemployment can often be financially, emotionally, and psychologically destructive, which leads me to tonight's debate question. What can be done to eradicate South Africa's high unemployment rate? You at home are welcome to join the conversation by visiting our social media pages on Twitter and Instagram. We are at One Day Leader, and of course our Facebook page is One Day Leader Season 8. Leaders, I trust that you're ready to tackle tonight's topic. First, let's hear your vision statements. Good evening, Leader 1.
Who taught us to look outside ourselves, outside our communities and our unique values for solutions? The apartheid regime taught black people and women that they are inherently inferior and without the capacity to meaningfully contribute to discussion. Today, unemployment robs individuals of their social political capital and their ability to meaningfully contribute into society. However, we have the capacity to innovate solutions to the problems that directly affect us. Ngalokho bakithi ngithi people-inspired solutions to our problems. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, Leader 1. Good evening to you, Leader 2. Your vision statement, please.
An idea whose time has come. No neo-colonialism or apartheid systems can stop it from growing. Africans, South Africa, today are like Pixlika Isaka Seme, O.R. Tambo, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and Peter Mokaba. I stand before you calling for you to stand up. South Africans, join me in building a nation centered in Afrocentrism. Mayihlome ma-Afrika.
Thank you very much, Leader 2. Good evening, Leader 3. Your vision statement, please.
Inhlungu nenqaleko esiziva umhla nezolo azinakulinganiswa nanto. Abanye bethu abanamisebenzi kodwa kufuneka bebeke ukutya etafileni. Kungenjalo baphelelwa sisidima nakwimpukane. But South Africa, I'm here to remind you that your voice did not get drowned by the bullets of the colonialists at the echoes of our forefathers. Be a catalyst for change, a surgeon for humanity, and an advocate for Africanism. If not you, then who? And if not now, when?
Thank you very much, Leader 3. Hello to you, Leader 4. Your vision statement, please.
I live to see the day where a black child does not have to sell their soul to secure their next meal, where mothers do not have to pay for a roof over their child's head by enduring more scars and bruises because they have nowhere else to go, and fathers seek refuge in the bottle because they have witnessed too many doors shut in their faces. Ngobungekho umsebenzi. Ngiyathemba ukuthi zizojika izinto.
Thank you very much, Leader 4. Good evening to you, Leader 5. Your vision statement, please.
I stand for the development of citizens with a sociological understanding for their societies so that they can meaningfully contribute to them. South Africa, I am the one you've been waiting for.
Thank you very much, Leader 5. And finally, Leader 6, welcome. Your vision statement, please.
My voice, my mind, my life. 3 things I will use to fight for those whose suffering is silenced. Youth hindered by a lackluster education system. Women under siege from the patriarchy. From the gender pay gap to gender-based violence. Queer bodies systematically excluded from all sectors of society. The 99% who've been repeatedly failed by the state. And Black Africans who continue to live under the dictatorship that is the legacy of apartheid. South Africa, I give you my voice, my mind, my life.
Thank you very much, Leader 6, and thank you to all of you leaders for your vision statements. Now, last week you at home voted for your favorite leader. Let's take a look at our scoreboard to see who's leading the votes.
In this week's viewer votes, Bell is leading with 4,187 votes, and Zizipo is trailing not far behind with 3,989 votes. It's getting heated as we get closer to the elimination stage. This means Bell gets 1 point.
Now over to our guest judge. In 2019, the National Youth Development Agency raised concerns about the high rate of youth unemployment and made a vow to help tackle it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome NYDA Chairperson, Mr. Sfiso Mzweni. Briefly, Sfiso, firstly, it's great to have you back on the show, but briefly take us through just some of the agency's concerns around the high unemployment rate, especially of young people.
Well, Pal, thank you for having us, and greetings to the leaders. Indeed, over the last 3 years, we've said that unemployment in our country has reached crisis level. And we're very happy that, in fact, the head of state has actually declared unemployment in this country as a crisis. It's an emergency. But we're saying to deal with unemployment in this country does not take rocket science. We need to put in place simple methods that will ensure that we address it. Firstly, we said that unemployed graduates should not be sitting at home. They should be at work. Remove 3 years experience, remove 5 years experience for them to be at work. Secondly, we've now launched a program of youth entrepreneurship that will see 100,000 young entrepreneurs creating 10 jobs each. That will create 1 million jobs. But as a start, 1,000 entrepreneurs in the next 100 days as a means to drive youth unemployment. But lastly, there needs to be a skills revolution. Those young people who are sitting at home, who are neither in education, in employment or training, need to be absorbed in the skills revolution program to ensure that they develop a skill that will ensure that they will be able to drive their own economic prosperity.
All right, thank you very much. Now allow me to welcome our resident judges. You know exactly who they are. Gugulethu Mhlungu. And of course we have Ndumiso Hadebe. Ndumiso, as an economist, won't you give us the full picture, briefly if you can, in terms of how the high unemployment rates affects all South Africans, from just the day-to-day activities that we do to how we're contributing to our GDP or not contributing?
I think one of the most practical ways that the high unemployment rate affects South Africa is particularly at the level of what we refer to as the fiscal level, which is the allocation of monies towards education, the building of roads, new clinics, and so on. When you don't have people that are working, or you have a large number of people that are not working in South Africa, we don't have sufficient people who are contributing towards taxes, of which that's what SARS collects on the side of South Africans who are economically active. That creates a dilemma for the South African government to be able to have enough resources to allocate to all of these important programs. And then it creates a situation where we need to lend money abroad. And of course, lending money abroad imposes certain risks, particularly at a currency level. If the rand is not performing well, it means that we pay more for debt, and it impacts the allocation for education, healthcare, roads, and so on and so forth. So unemployment has multiple unintended consequences in that sense.
Judges, thank you very much for your insights. We look forward to hearing from you later on. When we come back, though, our leaders will uncover the state of unemployment, especially within our townships. Don't go away. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us right here on a one-day leader, igama ngingu Pearl Shongwe. Now, every day, hopeless and desperate South African residents roam the streets without work. The consequences of this unending suffering can lead to emotional distress, crime, substance abuse, prostitution, suicide, to name but a few. Now, this is what our leaders had to uncover for themselves in this week's task. Let's find out how it went.
I'm from Klipspruit, Soweto.
Our task today is centered on unemployment. It is a prevalent issue, particularly on young black South Africans.
Unemployment, angibheki as a stats because it's my reality. It's affecting me directly. Angisebenzi, I've got a child on a one. I've got responsibilities, I've got a house to take care of. So unemployment right now, not just my impilo, also my health. I've been depressed for I don't know how long because of not having a job, not being able to take care of myself and my son.
Sawubona Sisifundiswa, thank you for welcoming us into your home. After listening to your story, we saw the need and urgency for us to come and have a conversation with you and create a report to get into deeper analysis and hearing of your own story.
So when we got to a place, she was quite welcoming to her home, to her private place. And I think beyond just welcoming to the physical place itself, she was quite open and welcoming with regards to her story.
There's a lot of similar situation as me, even worse. Some are people that are close to me.
What's very important to remember, and especially for a lot of the youth who will be watching a show like One Day Leader, we have to remember that no matter whatever field we go into, there is a very good possibility that we're not going to be able to walk straight out of tertiary education and into a job. It's the reality, I think, in just about every single field except for the medical field. But it's terrifying.
So can I please ask, in terms of the mental space that a person who goes through that is in?
I've been in that space for isikhathi eside. Because vele ukuphela ithemba mongasebenzi, you feel useless. Awazi ukuthi wenzeni. Sometimes you don't even have money for food. You can't go around asking money for food or imali yokuya kuleyo interview. Uzithola sometimes uhlele embhedeni the whole day ungavuki. You know you have to get up and go look for a job. But after lokho uthola ama no's, people not replying, wasting money. Sometimes you have to choose ukuthi ngine 50 rand manje. Should I go look for a job or ngithenge isinkwa?
The most difficult parts for me of the conversation that we had with her was digesting some of the information that she was giving. So when she expressed that Her parents had been investing in her from a very young age.
Since mina nosami singazange saqeda isikole and we had kids, so siba disappointed kakhulu. Bebanama expectations very like wonke umzali. They were very supportive, they were there sifunde nani. So namanje, as much as I think they have lost faith.
She's dealing with economic barriers.
Awusakwazi ukuphupha khona manje mangifuna umsebenzi. Angifuna nje umsebenzi ozobeka ukudla etafuleni. Angisabheka ngale into engifunayo. Ngikhohle nokuthi bengithanda ini.
This thing of ungaspani, it's really bad. Kenya big time, because abantu, it just leaves them with the ability to lose sense of being themselves. So much that uti klaiteta at some part, when you are not employed, to lose the ability to dream.
Welcome back to One Day Leader Season 8. My name is Shongwe. Thank you so much for staying with us right here on SABC1. Now, we're still discussing this crisis of unemployment in South Africa. Let's take a look at the House rules before our leaders begin their debates. You have 60 seconds to propose, 90 seconds to debate, and 30 seconds to conclude. Mzansi, I hope you're ready. Our first debate is going to be between Leader 5 and Leader 6. You guys are familiar with the rules of debate. You're familiar with the question we're asking tonight. So therefore, Leader 5, your time starts now.
South Africa's unemployment rate remains at 29%, which, according to the World Bank, is 5 times the rate of the rest of the world. 10 million jobs short of the world average for employment among the working age, which among the youth stands at 55.2%. Three things. We need to grow our informal economy because the world, according to the International Labour Organization, the world average ratio of informal to formal jobs is 2 to 1. Yet in South Africa, it is 1 to 2, suggesting that the majority of the 10 million missing jobs are in the informal sector. 2, we need to advance entrepreneurship through SMMEs by making sure that small businesses are exempted from the bargaining council of the collective agreements of big businesses through the Labour Relations Act, to which they are not party to, so that they can stop them from incurring the same cost and management requirements imposed on big businesses, which is directly linked to the inability of small businesses to hire graduates. And looking into the future, we include the research departments and research departments of industries and business alike in curriculum development, so that graduates of the future do not only have a qualification, but as are equipped with the skills related to those qualifications. The reason why my solutions are practical is because they're taking into consideration both the informal and the...
Thank you very much. The time is up. Leader 6 and 5, you can engage.
The reason why my solutions are practical is because they're taking into consideration both the formal and informal economy of South Africa, which are crucial to inclusive economic growth. The reason why we should grow the informal economy is because, according to the National Development Plan...
Before you get there, sorry, can you just explain how you plan on growing the formal economy? It's all good and well to say you plan to do it. How?
Yeah. We established a traders market to enable business in the informal economy to sell their products more easily and for consumers to have access to multiple products in one place, utilizing the Department of Trade and Industry Industrial Park Revitalization Program. We also use Kenya's Julikali program to provide training of basic bookkeeping skills to informal economy, so that, let me answer you, so that business in the informal economy can have basic bookkeeping skills, so that they can have access to credit to grow their business, so that they can move from informal to formal. Yes.
Would the private sector have a role in that?
No.
Why?
Because the private sector is the very same one that is stopping businesses from getting into the economy.
Don't you then believe they have an active duty to help people who are unable to access those spaces gain access?
But they've stopped. So, speaking to those solutions, another reason why we should grow the informal economy is because, according to the NDP, the economy can generate 2 million new jobs by 2020, not just in cities and in townships, but in the rural areas where people are marginalized and subjected to pervasive poverty and inequality. We grow small businesses by making sure that we offer them tax breaks to encourage small business development and create startups that will subsequently increase tax revenue and boost the economy. Growing SMMEs would negate the muted business confidence and create jobs. Ultimately, in terms of education, curriculum development is important so that we can equip graduates.
Thank you very much, leaders. Time is up. You've got 30 seconds, Leader 5, to wrap it up.
In recent years, the informal sector, which accounts for 18.7% of employment, has created 2 out of 3 jobs. Let us harness it. Small businesses are the backbone of any economy, and we must develop them. When it comes to curriculum development, we must make sure that we create an education ecosystem between the government, industries, and academics, so that we can have a cohesive future. Because education outcomes and results are a pertinent indicator of future output and employment. This would create macroeconomic stability and foster an inclusive economic growth that benefits all, taking into account both the formal and informal economies of South Africa combined. Thank you.
Thank you you very much. The tables are now turned. Leader 6, it's your turn. Your time starts now.
People of South Africa, we live in a society which is killing the youth of our country. We live in a society which fails to support and propel young black graduates. We live in a society where young people break their backs at university only to be told there is no place for them in the working world. We have to combat youth unemployment at every level of our society, and this is how we do it. Firstly, at a community level, NGOs need to hire young graduates for them to gain experience in a particular field. Secondly, we need to actively start supporting entrepreneurs within our own communities. Second level, then, the private sector needs to set a new standard for work experience to allow young graduates to enter the job market. And secondly, they need to provide on-the-job training, learning, and mentorship. Furthermore, then, the state needs to do 5 things: ban unpaid internships, implement educational reforms, provide fairer opportunities for disadvantaged youth, implement a national levy scheme for skill shortage areas, and implement a targeted wage subsidy. Looking specifically at communities and NGOs, we think that you should start hiring young graduates.
Thank you very much, Leader 6. Time is up. You have 90 seconds to engage.
Let me get to the end point that I'll take you. Cool. NGOs should opt to hire younger graduates so they can give these individuals some kind of experience. These individuals can then earn an income, and these individuals can start working with important organizations that are doing really important work.
Okay, yes. According to the South African Journal of Education, approximately 60% of first graders will drop out, meaning that they won't complete matric. This means that currently, 47.5% of the youth unemployment labor force did not complete secondary education.
I'm going to deal with you.
How are they accommodated in the formal economy model that we're proposing?
That comes under my educational reforms, under the analysis of the role of the state. Second thing that we can do in communities, we can start actively supporting entrepreneurs. Vusi Tempegwayo famously said, if you want to support Elon Musk, you don't buy shares in Tesla, you buy a Tesla. We need to implement that same kind of thinking in our communities. Then on the private sector, which Vusi tells you is not an avenue we should explore, we need to implement a new standard of work experience. This idea of individuals having 4 years of work experience as soon as I'm getting there.
But I answered your
Vusi, I'm going to get there. Give me time. Stop interrupting me. I'll get there. The idea of having 4 years of work experience as soon as you've graduated is ludicrous. Then secondly, this idea of on-the-job learning, mentorship and training as well as formal qualification. I'm getting to you, Vusi.
I answered your questions. You're not engaging me.
I am going to engage you. Let me get there.
You're failing to answer a question.
All right. Educational reforms. Sorry, panel. I have to jump around in my order. This idea of educational reforms. It's connecting employers to youth at a younger age that they can have job placements once they leave school.
Thank you very much, contestants. Leader 6. You have the remaining 30 seconds to wrap it up.
South Africa, by mobilizing around this central issue, we do more than create jobs. We uplift poor and disenfranchised members of our society. We restore dignity and help individuals see their lives as meaningful. We contribute to micro and macroeconomic growth, and we save lives. We can't continue to shut young people out of the job market anymore, as we are only doing ourselves an injustice. Let us all take an active role in radically transforming our economy and socio-economic context of South Africa.
Thank you very much. Time is up. And that wraps up our first debate, Mr. Mhlungu. I'll come to you for your impressions on that debate. I saw you nodding, writing, smiling, grinning here and there. So please bring us into everything that you were thinking during this first debate.
Well, a very interesting debate and interesting points. It's almost like Vusi was listening to me and changed his entire strategy to impress the judge on the SMM. That's the truth of the matter. You need to drive the economy on the ground. And I think Vusi was quite on point. Well, it's very good that you're looking at both micro and macro economic framework. But I do think that, 2 things that we've always struggled with. One is the issue of young people being taken into schemes that seeks to give them experience, particularly those who are educated. I think the argument that has always been there is that those who have come through the education system in our country should be skilled enough to be able to contribute into the job market. I'm not too sure if it's a solution, because, we've seen internship programs, which, by the way, she speaks about, that to say, instead of now make them paid internship programs, have internship programs really succeeded? From where I'm sitting, I don't know. And I think the second point that she's raising, which is quite interesting, she says NGOs on the ground must then be able to absorb graduates in order to give them experience. I'm not too sure, again, how impractical is that. But I think on the overall, these are very interesting ideas, and it's quite exciting to watch from where I'm sitting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mtsweni. Indeed, they're going to go to Ndumiso now to ask for the verdict.
Vusi gets that debate.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Leader 5, for taking that very first debate of the evening. Nikumbul at home, your votes will be revealed at the top of next week's episode. We're going to take a quick break now. That first debate was so heated. We'll be back with more.
As the NYDA, we're very excited with the change that comes with the new government. The presidency in particular is very much focused on young people, and the NYDA plays a central role in implementing the vision of government as it relates to its youth. We're going to introduce new and innovative funds, and we're going to partner with other entities like the Department of Small Business to bring comprehensive packages of support to young people who want to be and are passionate entrepreneurs. We'll be upgrading many of our service centers, and we'll be working with entities like the Department of Employment and Labor and our social partners, Harambee and the Youth Employment Service.
That message was brought to you by the NYDA. The NYDA is dedicated to playing a role in nurturing and improving the lives of young people in our country. Now, back to tonight's show. The debate topic that we're tackling is what can be done to eradicate South Africa's high unemployment rate. Now, it's time for us to get to our second debate of the night, which is going to be between Leader 3 and Leader 4. I know you're ready and well prepared. Leader 3, your time starts now.
I'd like to propose to you 4 solutions. 1, we need to develop a pro-entrepreneurial culture by promoting a generation of job creators and not job seekers. 2, education reform. Corporate markets and the education sector need to come to the forefront in tackling the issues of insufficient resources and financial illiteracy. And we also need to actively advocate for a technical-based education system that will equip us for entrepreneurship and also produce employable graduates. 3, we need subsidies and immigration reform. We need transport and wage subsidies because obtaining a job during the school-to-work transition is impossible and cost-effective, even with a matric certificate. And if we have a supply of highly skilled individuals, we'll be able to alleviate unemployment while also increasing tax revenues. And 4, we need to address the legacies of apartheid, which served to limit human development and keep black people away from the cities where they can access higher status jobs as well as the necessary skills that they need to actively participate in the economy. Now, if young people collaborate more
Thank you very much. Time is up. Your 90 seconds to engage starts now.
On high priority objectives, such as advocating for the education system to incorporate technologies and finances throughout all modules and subjects, and helping them understand how this integrates and will affect and impact. Can I just finish? And impact the value chain directly, and also create a framework policy that will allow them to build startups while in university. A whole new world of entrepreneurship will be opened. On the point of if India could develop a national startup policy that allows students to convert their final year project into startups.
We had the debate on entrepreneurship, and the fact was that 80% of startups fail. It means that if you're giving people jobs based on startups, those jobs are not sustainable. The people will be employed for a short period of time, and that's not simply sustainable. What do you say then about that?
Well, the unemployment rate is increasing, so we can't just sit and do nothing about it.
But then you can't give Ndumiso was given a job which lasted only for a year, and that impacted her negatively. So how do you give people employment only for a short term and not sustain it?
That speaks to issues like insufficient resources and financial literacy, which I've addressed.
Second point, financial literacy
people of ages between 18 to 59 have no access to social security in South Africa.
You're not being genuine to this debate with the entrepreneurship point. It is not sustainable. It means that young people
can allow me to speak.
Now that means that people are given.
What the government needs to do is develop wage subsidies that will cover part of the cost that firms need to employ people. And we also need transport subsidies to make the job-seeking process easier for people that are residing outside of urban areas.
Your time to engage is up, leaders. Leader 3, you have the remaining 30 seconds to wrap up your debate. Leader 3.
The findings and research conducted by the Mhlungu Institute for Strategic Reflection illustrated that by 2029 there will be more than 6.3 million unemployed young people in South Africa. 1 million more than we have right now if creative works are not found to put them to work. So we cannot sit and wait. Now, what I'm saying is education reform, pro-entrepreneurial culture, subsidies and immigration services will address these issues, not only the case of youth unemployment, but unemployment at large.
Thank you very much. That's where we'll leave it with you. Leader 4, it's your turn now. Your time starts now.
The solution I provided today is a long-termist approach in tackling unemployment from its roots, an effectively administered quality education system. Because all the solutions we get from Uzizipo today are solutions that have been tried and tested before, but have proven to be unsustainable. I am proposing this solution as a crucial additive to strategies the government has implemented in the past, which only succeeded in providing temporary relief to people in terms of unemployment. I tell you that in 2018 alone, it was reported that only 51% of the learners who had enrolled for grade 1 only 51% of them who enrolled for grade 1 in 2007 wrote their matric in 2018. It means that there's a high dropout rate, which means that even if we have entrepreneurial opportunities, even if we have graduate programs, only a very limited number of young people can access these opportunities. It means that you are constantly excluding young people who did not complete their schooling. We need to improve our education system to allow people to, first of all, finish school, because at a point where they did not finish school, they don't have the skills that allow them to run businesses efficiently. They don't have the skills that allow them to be desirable.
Thank you very much,
employers.
Leader 4. Your 90 seconds to engage starts now.
Can I just finish? The second part to my solution is to do away with the 3 types of matric passes that we have: the diploma, bachelor, and higher certificates. I tell you now that a person with a higher certificate is less likely to get an employment opportunity or to get into university than a person with a bachelor pass. Yeah, let me just finish this, I'm coming through. And then if we have just a bachelor pass, it allows people to readily be able to get to employment.
Okay, but I really want to speak to that point before you speak about education reform.
Yeah.
Now, how do you speak to the inequalities of the past? Yeah. We have industrialization that's going to occur, and how does your policy then propose or give us ways that will ensure that people who were previously disadvantaged by the earlier industrialization are not left further behind, because new technologies mean that value will be placed on the hands of people already wealthy, and they won't apply the necessary skills to be actively participating.
The policy that I gave to you, as I explained in my introduction, is not an isolated response to the issue of unemployment. I'm saying we continue with the short-term strategies that the government has been creating. I'm not saying we do away with entrepreneurship initiatives. I'm not saying that we do. I'm not saying we do away.
You're not answering my question.
Allow me to respond. I'm not saying we do away with all the short-term strategies that allow to eradicate the problems of the past. We cannot think that these problems of the past will be eradicated in a minute. What
I'm asking how you will bridge the gap of inequality to make sure that the policies you are proposing benefit people who are previously disadvantaged.
People who are disadvantaged are furtherly pushed out of the economy.
Practical ways in the education system, what are you addressing?
One of the things that we do, we've changed the way that we, our pedagogies, we changed the way that we teach learners, such that our teaching environment
Thank you very much, leaders. Time is up. Leader 4, the remaining 30 seconds are yours.
It is unfair to place a burden on an individual to undo 400 years of colonialism and apartheid, right? It is genuine to this debate to argue that the systematic issues such as unemployment will not take a minute to erase. But what I'm giving you today is a solution that allows us to tackle these problems on the short term and on the long term. On the short term, we continue with internships, learnerships, and all of that. But on the long term, we allow the education system to be conducive for people who have been constantly shut out of the economy. People that Zizipo talks about, that apartheid has constantly disadvantaged. We think that it is important to consider that these are not issues that we will solve in just a minute, but they allow us to be more sustainable. Time is up. Thank
you very much, leaders, for that debate. We'll come to you, Ndumiso, to just give us your reflections on that second debate while you guys tell your scores and write down your marks. Hey, there are plenty as you outlined in your opening statement. Take us through that.
Man, I think more or less you're both saying the same thing. Your policy propositions are more on the supply side around education outcomes and what the state can do to better the situation. Zanele, she poked a serious hole in your entrepreneurship startup discussion, and I think you are aware of that. That hole gave her the heads up in that instance. Zanele, based on you poking a hole in her argument in that instance, I was of the impression that you are going to consolidate the debate. You focused on education outcomes, fantastic, long-term. I think that's the perspective that we need to have, particularly for those who are not even matriculating, because that's where the bulk of the unemployment crisis lies. But you didn't go in deeper. The manner in which you poked a hole, or the critical thinking that you applied in poking a hole in an argument, I anticipated that in your solution, it would be a response to that. And unfortunately there, it was a bit underwhelming, because I was anticipating your comeback in that instance. Overall, you both did exceptionally well. The score is extremely tight, almost even, basically. The difference is basically by 0.5% on my side.
All right.
But well done.
And then we'll come to you, Googs, for the verdict.
quite a tough one. We had a tie in one. We had a, half a point difference.
Half a point?
Listen, it's a tough job, this. But this debate goes to Leader 4, Zanele.
All right, thank you very much, and congratulations to you, Leader 4. Our final debate will obviously be between Leader 1 and Leader 2. We're going to get the ball rolling. Leader 1, your time starts now.
The problem of unemployment is obviously multifaceted. In this debate, I'm going to address 3 of its causes and the reasons why it has proliferated. Namely, 1, the lack and misplacement of education and skills that are important for the labor market. And secondly, in situations where these skills are available, the lack of opportunities and finance to use them. And lastly, the growing issue of automation. So the first solution on employment opportunities. We ought to increase government expenditures, more specifically by directing it to initiatives that also creates employment. Here, we can look at building more very much needed public infrastructure. For example, clinics and schools. The Kathoras area of the Ekurhuleni doesn't have basic facilities like a clinic. They literally have a two-room clinic. We still have the informal settlement of K-Sands where people still haven't received any form of housing. Why is this direction of government expenditure beneficial? Because it creates employment both in the short and the long run. In the short run, through the construction period, and in the long run, through the creations of the infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Leader 1. Your time is up. Leaders, you have 90 seconds to engage.
Please let me finish. So, for instance, if we've created a clinic, it means that all of the nursing graduates who stay at home because they don't have work have, job vacancies that they can fulfill. The second thing I'm going to discuss is on education and training. We must concede the government has programs in place. Yes.
Understanding that you say you want to do construction, and the process of construction you're going to be employing people.
Yes.
How do you redress the fact that these companies that do this construction, they rather opt for cheap labor, which is non-South African forms of labor? So how are you going to redress that in our situation?
Those people still account for the labor force. We shouldn't have to divide. They account for who gets money and who doesn't. We can place restrictions on how many people you employ. We can place quotas in place. This doesn't mean that this has to stop. Okay, so on education and training, the government has programs in place. For example, the NYDA had the Public Deployment Program in 2012. We had the National Rural Youth Services Corporation in 2010. We have sectoral education, sectoral education and training, authorities. We have these programs. The problem is that they usually only teach people a skill and give them a qualification. However, they don't last a long period. What can the government then do? What the government can do is normalize exporting our labor when we no longer have job opportunities. India does this because it has a large population and an economy that isn't as successful. So they export some of their labor to countries where there are job opportunities. Why is this good? The reason why this is good is, 1, those people get employed. Why this is also good for South Africa is that they also send back.
Thank you very much, leaders. Leader 1. You have the remaining 30 seconds.
So these individuals also send remittances back home, which help provide that particular family with a breadwinner. How we deal with automation is that we make formal legislation that mandates businesses and government to actually create employment opportunities for their workers when they automate certain tasks. For example, we had bank tellers that gave us our money. Then we had ATMs. What banks then did is that banks then further created more interpersonal tasks for their laborers, things like a financial advisor, so that people don't have to completely lose work.
Thank you very much, Leader 1. Your time is up. The tables are now turned. Leader 2, it's your turn.
Understanding that in South Africa, only 50% of the people that go from grade 1 to matric, they drop out, and only out of that 50% that comes out of matric, 1 out of 10 of those people that go to university. We have a big problem of people that are staying at home and unable to go to university and get certain opportunities or even the privilege of going to school. So it means that we need to do a redesigning of the curriculum at the basic education level. In South Africa, it seems that we are somehow notionally, we are somehow seeking to enhance those that are doing liberal arts, and somehow at some point we do apprenticeship for people that go to FETs. We do not consider the people that are skills-based people, and we need our education to also integrate the people that are able to do whatever is going to be useful to the state using their own skills, enhance people's skills and give them opportunity to sell their skills. Look at people like Obama Porisa and Abu Kabza. Those people, they make money in our society, and those type of people, those are the skills that you do not go to school for, because those are skills that we were born with in South Africa.
Time is up. Thank you very much. Leaders have 90 seconds to engage.
Secondly, we need to have intentional graduate programs, because the current graduate programs that we have in South Africa, you just go for a graduate program for 1 year. After 1 year, you are no more without a job. So let's have intentional graduate programs that are going to absorb graduates after doing that internship or graduation program, then be absorbed by the system so that you can be within the system longer. It doesn't make sense for me to use a graduate after a year, you drop them, and then you create more problems by bringing other graduates that you're going to still drop in the longer time and in the longer future.
So what's funny is that your second point contradicts your first point, because how do you take people with a skill and say, yeah, we want to use your skill, but you also concede that the government doesn't have graduate programs that create employment. So how do you
Let me just tell you this. It seems that you're seemingly confused in a way. When you're enhancing people's skills, you do not have anything to do with graduates. You are just only considering the people that are not graduates.
The point is
enhance
you can
graduates
enhance
and also
skills,
look at...
but if there isn't employment opportunities, what are those skills for?
You know, you wasted your time by not giving us a proper, delicate solution of how we are going to be giving these people jobs. You just said we are going to teach them and teach them. You did not give us a solution on how to give these people jobs.
I said the government already teaches them. The government can then give them employment opportunities.
In South Africa, we also need to redesign our curriculum with people that are already within the system, the people that are graduating, people that are finishing matric. You must also incorporate in vocational skills in our education system, so that people that are having in vocational skills, they might be able...
colleges where people can get vocational skills.
Time is up. Thank you very much, Leader 2. You can wrap up your debate.
Okay. In finishing up my statement, understanding that the NDP plan of South Africa says that in the near future, by 2030, almost majority of the jobs that must be in South Africa, they must be provided by the SMEs. So it means that we need to become, a state needs to become a major stakeholder in boosting and ensuring that the SMEs, they are sustainable, they are viable, so that they can absorb majority of the people. And also you need to remove the experience basis on which the experience basis for people that are seeking jobs. Because we have a great problem that when you're looking for a serious job,
is up. Thank you very much, leaders. That was our final debate between Leader 1 and Leader 2. I'm going to come to you, Googs, just to give us your impressions of that final debate. Were you satisfied with the content and how the debaters argued their points and brought them across?
I think a very passionate debate, focusing on different things or different parts of, where the solution could be. A little bit disappointed in the listening. So there wasn't a lot of listening to one another, which is quite important, because one of the things we look at is the debate engagement. And I think generally, as a comment for everyone, I know that it's quite a short amount of time that you're trying to, present a lot of information. And so there is the temptation to use the debate engagement time to finish your point. But what that does mean is that we then lose out on the ability to judge on debate engagement.
Who shall I come to for the verdict? Perhaps Mr. Mtsweni?
No, thank you. I think just to echo my fellow judges here, it was quite an interesting debate. But I think one thing that, for future purposes, that we're looking for is that there's current solutions that are being offered. When we look at young leaders, we want to see solutions for the future. Let's not rehash what has been said. I was looking forward to hearing about 4IR and the impact that it has. I was looking forward to hearing about jobs of the future. I liked your point about the creative arts industry. It's a key economic driver. But one thing that I did not get out of all the 6 is the whole issue around the tourism in our country. How do we push that? But overall, I think this debate was wonderful, and we give it to Lindo Guhle.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mtsweni. And congratulations to you, Leader 1, for taking that debate. After the break, we're going to find out how our studio audience voted. Now, they will get an opportunity to vote for their favorite leader tonight. But for you at home, remember that you can still continue voting, because our voting lines will only close on Monday midday. Ngakho-ke qhubeka ngoku-SMS igama elithi leader nenamba yomholo umthanda kakhulu to our SMS line, which is 34708. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're now in the final segment of One Day Leader for tonight. We saw those debates happening earlier on, and of course our studio audience had an opportunity to vote for their favorite. But before we get to that, we're quickly going to get final impressions from our judges tonight, and I'll start with you, Ndumiso.
Guys, so congratulations once more. I know it's getting tougher and tougher as the episodes go along, and it's going to get even tougher. I think one thing from this episode is that don't be afraid to also use your creativity when it comes to solutions. I know that we also emphasize the importance of research and the application of that research, but also I think with issues such as unemployment, which is such a crisis point in South Africa, use your creativity.
I really think, to echo what Ndumiso was saying, kind of really thinking about everything you have read, that you've internalized, but also I think because many of the problems that we're dealing with are structural, I think there isn't time to get into it, but just keeping in mind that that is the reality, that we're dealing with some pretty structural issues. That also kind of guides when we're thinking about, when we're looking at practical solutions, what does that mean in that context? Of course, we're not going to fix unemployment in a day or a week, but maybe we can make a difference in the next month or 2 months. So, kind of thinking about how do we effectively, practically begin to change some of these issues.
All right, thank you very much. Gugs and Mr. Mtsweni, I know you always encourage the youth to stop looking to somebody else for solutions and to actually step up and exercise their own agency in order to create their own luck and their own opportunities. Just your parting words of advice to the South African youth at large.
Look, I think one thing that came out quite strongly is that as the youth, we're no longer the future, we're the present. We should stop looking at somebody to bring solutions for our own challenges. We understand our challenges better. We must come up with the solutions ourselves. So we're no longer the future, we're the present. The sky is the limit.
I think we can all give that a round of applause. Now, before the ad break, our studio audience had an opportunity to vote, and I do have the results with me. A big congratulations to Leader 5. You took the studio audience vote once again. Thank you. A big thank you to our audience. They've been great tonight, and our judges who are always exceptional. Let us now have a look at the episode and the overall scoreboard. Look carefully to see where your favorite is, and if you can elevate them, do just that.
At the end of this episode, Vosi is leading with 10 points and Bell is trailing with 9 points. It's tight at the top.
Mugeli, nawe kungakhohlwa ukuthi we'll be showing your voting results at the top of next week's episode. Voting lines do close on Monday afternoon. Ngithanda ukubonga our candidates, our judges, our studio audience, kanti-ke nanilapha emakhaya for joining us once again for another episode of One Day Leader. Next week we tackle yet another thought-provoking topic. Before I go, I leave you with this Japanese proverb: fall 7 times, stand up 8. From myself, Shongwe, Mtimanzi Bambo Lunyu, Makeza Ngelbisi Amanda and the rest of the One Day Leader team, it's good night.